Welcome to the deep dive. We know you are here because, well, you have that constant itch to stay ahead of the curve.
Right, you want to understand those massive shifts happening right under our noses.
Exactly, before everyone else catches on. And today, we are looking at a shift that is, well, it's as silent as it is absolute.
It really is.
Think about how you use the internet right now. Not 10 years ago, but literally today. The statistics outlined in our source material are just staggering.
I mean, over 51% of all web traffic is now entirely automated.
Right. We're no longer just Googling a string of keywords and scrolling through 10 pages of blue links.
Not all.
Instead, people are pulling up AI systems, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and they're asking highly specific conversational questions.
Yeah, they're typing things like, who is a good mortgage broker near me?
Or, can you recommend a financial advisor in Hamilton?
And that subtle change in human behavior, it completely rewires the digital economy.
How so?
Because when you ask an AI engine for a recommendation, the entire mechanics of discovery change. You know, you're not asking for a list of options to research on your own time.
Right. You want the answer.
Exactly. You are asking the machine to do the synthesizing for you. You are asking for a definitive answer.
Which brings us to today's source material and the mission for this deep dive. We're looking at a stack of internal strategy documents and web copy for a platform called Authority Hub.
Authority Hub.
It's developed by a Canadian company called DGA Impact Inc. out of Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And they are gearing up for a beta launch next month in April 2026.
It's around the corner.
Yeah. So our mission today is to pull apart these documents and understand the critical fundamental difference between traditional SEO.
Optimizing for Google.
Right. The difference between SEO and what is now being called AIO, or AI answer optimization. We're going to explore exactly how professionals are scrambling to restructure their digital presence so that these massive AI engines actually speak their names. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's fascinating here is how the source material frames the immediate threat to professionals today. They call it AI invisibility.
AI invisibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go to ChatGPT or Gemini and ask for professional recommendation, the AI does not spit out a page of sponsored ads.
No, it just gives you a name.
Maybe two names. But understanding how it decides who makes that incredibly short list is where the paradigm really shifts. It relies entirely on structured, verifiable data.
I found the mechanics of that selection process really eye-opening. Because we are so used to Google's approach, right? Where if a website is a little messy, Google still throws it in the mix on page 3 or 4.
Sure, it indexes everything.
But AI doesn't do that. The documents explain that if a professional's credentials are not crystal clear, or if their specialization is vague.
Or even if their name is just listed inconsistently across different websites.
Exactly. The AI encounters friction. And the AI does not pause to actively reject that professional. It simply skips them.
It just moves right past them.
It moves on to the next data point that is easier to parse. So to the algorithm, that professional simply ceases to exist. They become entirely invisible.
Because the AI is essentially looking for the path of least resistance to a confident answer. It has a very high threshold for certainty.
Because it doesn't want to hallucinate.
Right. These systems are actively trying to avoid hallucinating incorrect information. So if your digital footprint requires the AI to make assumptions, to connect the dots about who you are and what you do exactly, it will just drop you from the consideration set.
Reading through this, I kept thinking of an analogy. Imagine you run the absolute best bakery in your entire city. Your pastries are incredible, your customer service is unmatched.
Okay, I'm with you.
But you have no sign on your door. And you happen to live in a city where every single resident only travels by following their GPS.
That's a great way to put it.
It does not matter how good your product is. If the GPS system doesn't know you are a bakery, no one is ever going to walk through your doors.
And the source documents note that this invisibility is uniquely devastating for a very specific type of business. They categorize them as trust-based professionals.
Trust-based professional.
Yeah. We are talking about mortgage brokers, real estate agents, financial advisors, lawyers, healthcare practitioners.
Like these professions.
Exactly. If your entire livelihood depends on a client trusting you with their money, their home, or their health, then the AI needs absolute ironclad proof of that trust before it will ever recommend you to a user.
That makes sense.
I mean, a retail store might survive on foot traffic or an impulse buy, but nobody impulse buys a divorce attorney.
It makes complete sense. If I need a lawyer, I'm not looking for someone who just bought the best Google ad. I want the expert,
Yeah,
And AI is trying to simulate that expert recommendation,
precisely.
which leads us to the platform itself, Authority Hub. Before we even get into the mechanics of how they solve this, I want to touch on their visual branding because it perfectly encapsulates this whole concept. Yeah. The logo is a shield with a check mark right in the center of it. But behind the shield, inside a hexagon shape, are these distinct lines of a circuit board.
It's very striking.
It is this brilliant visual shorthand for what they're building, which is digital verifiable trust.
And that visual identity flows right into the actual mechanics of the platform. The core of Authority Hub is a continuous monthly cycle.
A monthly cycle.
Right, and it all kicks off with an AI visibility audit. Every single month, the platform essentially interrogates the major AI engines.
It asks them questions.
Yeah, it actively queries ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini to see exactly how they currently perceive the user. And from that data, it generates what they call a GEO score, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization.
I love that they have put a concrete metric to something that feels so abstract, and the sources break this GEO score down into 5 very specific pillars of visibility.
They do.
They actually give us a practical example of this audit in action using a profile for a mortgage broker in Niagara Falls named Steve Daynard. He has an overall score of 72.
Let's break down those pillars.
So the first of these 5 pillars is called Entity Declaration. And Steve scored an 18 out of 20 here.
Which is strong.
Yeah. This pillar measures how clearly the AI can identify exactly who you are. To fix ambiguities, the platform generates what it calls a canonical entity declaration.
The definitive statement.
Right. For Steve, the system established this exact phrasing. Steve Daynard is a mortgage broker in Niagara Falls, Ontario, specializing in first-time homebuyers. It leaves 0 room for the AI to guess.
And that level of precision feeds directly into the second pillar, which is niche context.
How did you do there?
Steve scored 17 out of 25 in this category. The audit evaluates how deeply the AI understands your specific specialization. It is not enough to just be recognized broadly as a lawyer or an accountant.
You have to be specific.
You need the AI to know you are a family law attorney specializing in collaborative divorce or a CPA focused on cross-border corporate tax. The tighter the niche context, the higher the confidence the AI has when a user asks a highly specific question.
And the third pillar is where the proof comes in. It is called credential signals, and Steve got 17 out of 20.
Show me the receipts.
Exactly. The documents show that AI is actively looking for professional credentials that it can verify through trusted databases. It wants to see the licenses, the certifications, the formal associations.
Then the fourth pillar is arguably the most difficult for a professional to maintain manually, and that is platform corroboration.
Steve sits at an 11 out of 20 here.
Yeah, a bit lower. This pillar measures whether your digital presence tells a unified, consistent story across the entire web.
Meaning everything matches.
Exactly. If your LinkedIn profile highlights one set of skills, but your Google Business profile hasn't been updated in 3 years and lists an old address, the AI detects conflicting data.
That friction.
Right. That friction causes the AI to drop its confidence score and, as we discussed, skip over you in favor of a profile with perfect data alignment.
I found the 5th and final pillar, temporal continuity, to be a great reality check for anyone who thinks they can just set up a website and walk away. Steve scored 9 out of 15. This evaluates the evidence of sustained recent activity. The AI wants to know you are actively practicing your profession today.
It needs to see you're still alive and working.
Right. If your last blog post or digital footprint update was from 5 years ago, the AI assumes you might be retired or out of business. It actively penalizes stale data.
Finding out you have gaps in your digital presence across those 5 pillars is incredibly valuable. But actually fixing them is where most professionals hit a wall.
It's overwhelming.
It usually becomes a nightmare of content creation that takes time away from their actual practice.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Step 2 of Authority Hub's cycle completely automates that fix.
Completely.
And it does it through a feature called voice capture and content generation. They aren't just giving you a generic marketing template to fill out or spitting out robotic ChatGPT text.
No, it's personalized.
During the onboarding process, the professional actually does a structured voice interview. The system analyzes that audio and builds a voice blueprint profile.
It learns how you speak.
Yes. It captures your actual tone, your specific phrasing, and your natural personality. Then, the AI uses that blueprint to generate content that specifically targets the weakest spots identified in your monthly audit. And it writes it sounding exactly like you.
The strategic distinction in how that content is written is crucial. The platform generates governed, declarative content rather than persuasive marketing copy.
There's a big difference there.
Huge. Traditional marketing is all about convincing a human to buy something, using catchy hooks and sales pitches. AI engines do not care about your sales pitch.
They don't care at all.
They care about facts. They want entity declarations, credential corroboration, and structured data they can index.
So once that perfectly structured declarative content is generated, the distribution mechanism kicks in. The sources outline a massive distribution network called the Omni-Channel Growth Framework, or OCGF.
It's quite the system.
The professional doesn't have to manually post anything. The documents state you only spend about 15 minutes a month reviewing a dashboard to approve the content.
Just a quick check.
From there, it is auto-published to 8 or more platforms simultaneously. It goes to a structured content vault on their site, your Google business profile, your LinkedIn, Facebook, and a directory called the Trust Network.
And the scale of that framework is impressive, particularly the audio component.
Yes, the podcast.
The OCGF actually takes the generated content and automatically produces a podcast episode in your specialized niche, which then gets published to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
That part stood out to me. Why does an AI care if a mortgage broker has a podcast?
It all comes back to the transcripts and entity mentions.
Transcripts.
Right. When an AI like ChatGPT crawls the web, it ingests the transcripts from YouTube and Spotify. By automatically generating that podcast, Authority Hub is creating rich conversational data files that explicitly link the professional's name to their niche expertise.
That is wild.
When you combine that with the auto-publishing across LinkedIn, Facebook, and the Content Vault, they are artificially creating that platform corroboration the AI is looking for.
It's surrounding the AI with evidence.
The algorithm suddenly sees your specific credentials and niche context echoed perfectly across 8 different highly ranked domains. That is how you build an undeniable data structure of trust.
The strategy is brilliant, but it is also incredibly potent. If everyone used this, it would just create a new baseline of noise.
Exactly.
The source documents make it clear that the company recognizes this, which brings us to a huge element of their rollout strategy: engineered scarcity. They are not allowing unlimited signups for this platform.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the logic behind the scarcity model is sound. If every single mortgage broker in a given city were using Authority Hub to perfectly optimize their AI signals, the competitive advantage would instantly disappear.
The algorithm would just see a tie.
It would just see a tie. To prevent that dilution, they have instituted strict market caps based on postal geography. They have divided Canada into 165 predefined markets.
And the breakdown of those 165 markets is highly specific. Ontario has 94 of these geographic zones, British Columbia has 23, Alberta has 20, and it scales down through the rest of the provinces and territories.
Though Quebec is currently excluded.
Right. The documents do mention that Quebec is excluded from this initial April 2026 rollout due to distinct language and provincial regulatory requirements, with a dedicated phase planned for them later.
And within those available markets, the seat limits are incredibly tight to ensure exclusivity. They only allow a maximum of 5 seats per profession in large urban markets.
5 seats total.
5. That drops to 4 seats in suburban markets, 3 in rural areas, and just 2 seats per profession in designated seasonal markets.
And once they're gone,
Once those seats are filled for a specific profession in a specific postal code, a hard waitlist kicks in. This guarantees that the subscribers are genuinely maintaining a visible, disproportionate advantage over their local competitors.
let's look at what that competitive advantage actually costs, because the pricing model detailed in the documents is surprisingly transparent. There are no setup fees or hidden retainers, which is rare for this kind of digital infrastructure.
Very rare.
They offer a solo account for 299 Canadian dollars a month. That gives a professional their own complete AI visibility machine, the continuous monthly audits, the voice blueprint profile, the targeted content generation, and the automated publishing across the omni-channel growth framework.
But then there's the premium tier.
Right, the Playbook Hub for 499 Canadian dollars a month. And the mechanics behind this premium tier completely redefine how networking operates.
It really does. The Playbook Hub is where the system evolves from individual optimization to network optimization. For that higher tier, a user can bring in up to 5 referral partners, which the platform officially designates as spokes.
Spokes.
Yeah. Now, these spokes can be from any profession, and they can be located anywhere across the United States or Canada.
Just to clarify how that works practically, a real estate agent based in Toronto could have a spoke account for a mortgage broker in Vancouver, Right. Or even a cross-border tax attorney in New York.
That is exactly how it functions. Each of those 5 spokes receives the full Authority Hub experience. They get their own monthly audits, their own voice blueprints, and their own auto-published profiles.
Right.
But the real power is in the architecture. Their profiles automatically cross-link to each other within the system.
Digital handshakes?
Exactly. AI systems actually read these digital handshakes. When an algorithm sees that a highly verified real estate agent is consistently cross-referenced with a highly verified mortgage broker across multiple platforms, it creates compounding mutual authority signals.
Wow.
It is building a cross-profession referral network that is entirely legible to a machine learning algorithm.
It is essentially taking the age-old concept of professional networking, referring clients back and forth, and digitizing it in a language only an AI can truly appreciate and index.
That's spot on.
Now, while this architecture sounds incredibly powerful, I do want to highlight a major reality check that the company explicitly outlines in their FAQ section.
The guarantees.
Right. They outright state that they do not guarantee that AI will recommend you. They say that anyone who promises a solid guarantee in this space is not being truthful, simply because AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini are third-party systems.
No single company can control how OpenAI or Google updates their internal recommendation weights.
It is a very realistic boundary they are drawing regarding the technical realities of third-party large language models. What Authority Hub does guarantee is that they will build the correct signals using compliant data infrastructure.
And compliance is huge here.
Yes. The sources specifically note compliance with CASL and PIPEDA, which are Canada's anti-spam and data privacy laws. Essentially, this means the platform is gathering data and generating content without violating strict consumer protection rules.
They provide the compliant infrastructure and the strategic repetition.
And the timeline.
The documents suggest that most users will start seeing measurable momentum in about 60 to 90 days. It takes time for the AI engines to crawl the new web of data, recognize the temporal consistency, and actually adjust their internal recommendation pathways.
It is not a flip of a switch. It is the deliberate construction of a digital foundation. So what does this all mean?
It's a fundamental shift.
If we pull all these pieces together, we are looking at the live evolution of the internet. We are moving away from the era of SEO, where the ultimate goal was to convince Google to list your website on page 1 using a scattered mix of keywords and backlinks.
And we are moving firmly into the era of AIO and GEO.
Right, where the goal is to structure declarative, factual data so cleanly and consistently across multiple platforms that an AI engine confidently speaks your name as the single definitive answer to a user's question.
Trust is no longer just a human feeling you get when you shake someone's hand in an office. Trust has been quantified.
Quantified trust.
It is now a rigorous data structure that must be actively managed and continuously updated. The professionals who realize this early, like the ones who secure a seat in this April 2026 beta, are going to have a massive runway to establish their digital signals before the rest of their local competitors even realize the rules of discovery have completely changed.
Which leaves us with a fascinating thought to end on, looking at the broader implications for all of us as users of these tools.
What's that?
Well, the sources make it undeniably clear that AI needs consistent, structured signals to recommend someone. But as platforms like Authority Hub emerge to feed these AI engines exactly what they want to read, in the exact format they prefer, do we risk creating a totally closed-loop internet?
That is the question.
A future where an AI doesn't necessarily recommend the objectively best professional in a city, but simply the professional who paid the right platform to perfectly format their existence for the algorithm. It is a complex new reality, and something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.